The more and more that we look at the information coming out for the next wave of MCU films, it definitely looks like that the replacement for Thanos is going to be none other than the time-traveling supervillain Kang the Conqueror. He's one of the oldest villains in Marvel lore, dating all the way back to the original Stan and Jack run of the Fantastic Four, but there are some heroes and some villains that have bested him in combat. So let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 comic characters who have defeated Kang the Conqueror. Number 10, Ahura, Uncanny Inhumans number 4. Black Bolt, leader of the Inhumans, has had to make a lot of desperate plays over the years to ensure his people's continued survival. Now, one of his most desperate plays came in the storyline Time Runs Out, where, in order to save his son Ahura from the impending destruction of the multiverse at the hands of the Beyonders, hands him to Kang for safekeeping. Black Bolt probably knew damn well that this move would bite him in the ass, but hey, desperate times, right? In the following Uncanny Inhumans series that follows in the wake of the Secret Wars reboot, Black Bolt learns just how egregiously Kang had cheated him in their deal. Kang did indeed keep his end of the bargain, but he also took it upon himself to mentor the boy. When Black Bolt goes to confront Kang, he finds not Nathaniel Richards, but his son has taken up the mantle as his father had been long dead. But two can play the time travel game, right? So the Inhumans managed to go back in time before Kang's brainwashing has really taken hold, and coax the boy back to the side of good. When Kang intervenes, he uses his Inhuman powers, which are the ability to possess others, to take over Kang's body and force him to surrender. Number 9, the Black Knight, Avengers number 71. The Black Knight, set to appear in the upcoming MCU movie The Eternals, was originally a supervillain before said villain died and passed his sword and equipment down to his much nicer grandson. Obviously, given this power, the kid just wanted to fight crime and join the Avengers, but reputation is a rather nasty thing, and he had just been saddled with a very messy one. So, he knew he had to appeal to the Avengers, but how? Well, handing one of the Avengers' oldest foes one of his most humiliating defeats is definitely a good place to start. In Avengers number 71, the new Black Knight seemingly joins the Masters of Evil on their latest scheme, but in actuality was sabotaging it from the inside out, culminating in him kicking Kang's butt before any of the other Avengers could get a hit in. It was not only a fun way to introduce a new Avengers member to the cast, but also a hilariously humiliating defeat of the so-called Master of Time. But this was definitely not the last humiliation this villain would suffer. Number 8, Ultron, Secret Wars number 4. Now, when Dr. Doom says that he's running the show, you better have a good leg to stand on if you plan disagreeing, or else things are going to be pretty nasty for you. I mean, just ask poor Kang on that one. During the original Secret Wars Maxi series, in order to secure their victory against the heroes whom they have been pitted against by the almighty Beyonder, Dr. Doom declares himself to be the leader of the group. Now, obviously, when you do this, you're going to brush up against some egos. In this case, Kang, who wonders why it should not be him who leads the group. Well, Dr. Doom hears his reasons like any good monarch, and then calmly makes the case for his side of the argument, and then orders Ultron to do just that. With Kang being just a pile of dust on the ground, the other villains very quickly fall in line behind Doom. Number 7, the Apocalypse Twins. Ever failed to manipulate somebody so badly that when it blows up in your face it takes your entire timeline with it? Well, that's what happened to Kang when he thought that he could control the Apocalypse Twins. Now, anyone with any amount of sense could see the problems with trying to control people literally called the Apocalypse Twins, but Kang's ego really got the better of him this time. He kidnapped the Apocalypse Twins when they were infants from Archangel, raising them to be the perfect warriors of his army. However, as you can probably predict, the twins learned a little too much from Daddy Dearest and turned on him the first chance they got. Then they traveled back to the present day, killed a Celestial because screw you, who's gonna stop them, and then ultimately messed things up so badly that Kang's native timeline was wiped from existence, leaving Kang as the only survivor. Now, plenty of villains have had their plans foiled by the very people they manipulated to their side in order to bring it to fruition, but only Kang can claim to have failed so spectacularly that his entire timeline had to foot the bill. Number 6, Iron Lad, Young Avengers number 5. The initial run of Young Avengers dropped a hell of a bomb right out of the gate by revealing that the leader of the team, Iron Lad, was in actuality a young Kang the Conqueror, who had initially come back in time to prepare himself to take his destined throne and rule all of time, but ended up instead fighting on the side of humanity. Such a great premise obviously had to be brought to its logical conclusion when his older self came in to correct this behavior. The battle is long and harsh, but the finishing blow belongs to Nate, who runs his older self through from behind with a sword, effectively killing him. Such a shame then that the troublesome little method we call the bootstrap paradox comes in to ruin everyone's celebration. You see, in order for this fight to even happen, Kang needs to exist, and so Nate needs to go back home and become what he was meant to be. A sad ending, but hey, at least Nate got off one hell of a win against himself. Number 5. Deadpool. Deadpool's Secret Wars. This hilarious miniseries reveals that Deadpool had in fact been part of the original Secret Wars event way back in the 80s, but for various reasons, nobody remembers this. And he didn't actually contribute that much, he just ran around and caused many Deadpoolian shenanigans. However, he did get to have one awesomely hilarious fight with one of the major players of the Secret Wars, Kang. Now, Kang usually knows what move his enemies are going to make before they even make them because, he's from the future. But the thing about fighting Deadpool is that this guy is insane, so it's impossible to gauge what move he's actually going to make. As such, despite superior firepower, Kang gets his ass handed to him by Deadpool, who defeats him in probably the funniest and most brutal way on this list, kicking him in the nuts with both feet, donkey style. Number 4. Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom number 6. When Doctor Doom is framed for an act of terror he didn't commit, he's forced to hoof it across America to find a way to clear his name. And along the way, just to make his life even more unbearable, he runs into Kang, who offers, strangely, to help him. Now, of course, Doom doesn't trust him half as far as he can throw him, considering their hate boner for each other is so strong that they can casually tell each other that they plan to kill one another at the first opportunity while cruising on a riverboat. But beggars can't be choosers, so Doom accepts the Master of Time's help. But when it comes time for Kang to make good on his word and attempt to kill Doom, Victor manages to get the upper hand and dispatch Kang for what has to be the millionth time by now by slicing Kang's throat open with a knife. It is brutal. Number 3. The Hulk. The Incredible Hulk, number 135. Now at this point, you're probably wondering why Kang, if he's such a master of time, doesn't just go back in time and strangle all of his enemies in their cribs. There are many reasons, we're told, none of which hold up to any actual scrutiny, but there are a few times that Kang actually does decide to take advantage of his abilities, such as in Incredible Hulk number 135, where he tried to murder Hulk's ancestor, but used the Hulk himself as a pawn in the scheme. Yeah, as you can imagine, it all went wrong pretty much immediately because it is notoriously hard to get the Hulk to follow a simple command, especially if it's one that he doesn't like. The whole thing falls apart around Kang's ears, culminating in the Hulk kicking his dumbass 6 ways from Sunday and returning back to his own timeline. As you will notice at this point, there is a kind of theme running through this list, and probably the very reason why Kang has taken so long to reach the big screen, because after all, he's kind of rubbish, isn't he? Number 2, Thor, Avengers number 8. Right, so let's talk about Kang's first proper appearance as we know him in the pages of Avengers number 8. Since Marvel's execs kind of forced the idea of a team-up book on Stan and Jack without giving them anything resembling prep time or a basic story outline beyond just team-up superheroes for cash money, or as you can imagine, it took a while to hammer out what the Avengers' identity as a book was going to be. As such, Kang kind of started out like the rest of them, a one-off villain that would leave defeated and then come back another day so Stan and Jack could have a reusable rogues gallery to fall back on while they hammered out an identity for the Avengers. So it should come as no surprise at all that Kang is defeated rather quickly in this book by Thor. While the other heroes of course contribute, it's Thor who manages to land the finishing blow with the mighty Mjolnir, sending Kang running off with his proverbial tail between his legs. And number 1, Space Phantom, giant-sized Avengers number 4. It's hard to resist putting the most humiliating defeat of Kang at the top of this list. While Kang has never been interested in the character Mantis before, that all changed when he learned, alongside her, that she is what's known as the Celestial Madonna, a cosmic messiah that Kang decides she'll be very useful indeed for his own nefarious plans. He spends multiple issues trying to capture Mantis for his own, with the Avengers fighting him back each and every time. But eventually, it seems that Kang finally emerges victorious when he manages to get his hands on Mantis and escape before the Avengers can catch up, only for the book to then reveal the final punchline. It wasn't actually Mantis, but rather one of the Space Phantoms, a race of shape-shifting monsters that had taken the form of Mantis to thwart Kang's scheme. After all that effort, all that time, Kang walks away humiliated and with absolutely nothing to show for it. This is why comic book fans make fun of you, Kang. You are conqueror of nothing. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 comic book characters who have defeated Kang the Conqueror. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ0. But before I go, you're a big ledge, and I'm sending big love your way, my friend. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.